Hello. So, in most of my talks, I introduce the concept of brain energy to our participants and the audience. But the whole idea is that a lot of the things that are going on, especially when it comes to dementia, it happens in pretty much every other brain condition. Energy plays a role in pretty much every other any brain condition. But in dementia specifically, because it's a decades long process of energy depletion, and the result of lower brain energy levels is a myriad of things, including the pruning or the cutting back of synapses, the buildup of amyloid plaques and tau tangles, the dysregulation of different pathways in the brain, and so on. And so it's very important that people understand that first, that it's not just the appearance of proteins in the brain that causes dementia. And I think we've got it backwards. Anyway, I do a lot of research into these things. So you don't have to. You're welcome. And one of the books that came to mind or came to my attention is a book called Brain Energy by Dr. Chris Palmer, who happens to be a Harvard educated psychiatrist. He does a lot of research too. And he takes it a step further, really. He takes it a whole lot further. And his whole theory is that every neurological or psychiatric or psychological problem, whether it's depression, Parkinson's disease, ADD, ADHD, hyper problems that have to do with psychosis, when there's hyperactivity in the brain, or problems that have to do with the brain being too calm or too mellow. He said it all stems back down, all stems back, stems. Well, it all goes back to the whole idea of brain energy. And he has a whole book about it. I got to tell you, there's a lot of information here. Again, the average person is probably not going to go through all this, but it is fascinating reading. Um, he talks about the mitochondria and metabolism. As you know, the mitochondria are the energy generators, the batteries of the cell, which powers the neurons and everything else. And he says that a lot of these problems because these mitochondria are not working like they should, and therefore, and he gives the various reasons why that could happen, including, of course, a high sugar diet. That these things could damage the mitochondria. Anyway, here's something I want to read out. We've established that cells need energy to work. This energy is used for all sorts of different things throughout the body, including making muscles function. We talk about muscles, creating and regulating hormones, and making and releasing neurotransmitters. The parts of the body that need the most energy tend to be the parts of the body most affected by metabolic problems. As you might imagine, topping the list are the heart and the brain. And that kind of makes sense. Both take a lot of energy from the body, though they require a lot of glucose and a lot of blood flow. So it's a great book. This is from page 84 of Brain Energy. Another book, again by another Harvard psychiatrist, which I find is even more fascinating, is called Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. And she, like Dr. Palmer, Harvard trained psychiatrist, not just mainstream, right? Just prescribing medications and doing whatever psychiatrists do, counseling, feedback therapy, whatever. It wasn't until they were personally affected. I think in her case, she had issues with the weight and depression or mental stress. He, I think he lost his mother to some kind of psychiatric condition, and I think he had a personal experience with a patient whom he helped to lose weight. The patient had all kinds of psychiatric problems, but the patient was also obese, overweight. So he focused on having the patient lose weight. And when the patient lost weight, the other psychiatric problems abated. Maybe, I don't know if they disappeared completely, but they abated. And that was what set him on the course towards nutrition, nutrients, brain energy, and actually fixing brain problems at the root. In her case, her name is Georgia Edie, MD. In her case, she was also having issues with some kind of psychiatric problems, mood disorders, and all that. She learned about the ketogenic diet, gone on it, and she saw significant improvements. And then she's now tried to start using it on her patients, and the results have been, actually, in her words, magnificent, remarkable, better than any drug that she's used. And she too talks a lot about brain energy. She's got some great quotes here. Let me see if I can find some of them. Um, Again, it's a very wordy as well. But she talks about things like autism, everything from autism to schizophrenia to depression. She talks about amyloid plaques and so on. And so here's a good quote. This is page 123 or 133. Under stress, brain cells release protein fragments called amyloid peptides to help defend themselves. So amyloid itself is good. Wait, what? Amyloid is good? Hmm. However, if these fragments clump together into amyloid plaques, they can interfere with brain cell signaling, but they do not appear to be the root cause of amyloid disease. Dr. Edie, are you actually saying what I think you're saying? You're saying that all this focus and these drugs and these drug development and research and these billions and billions and billions of dollars that have been poured into research to remove the amyloid plaques, because as we know, amyloid plaques are the cause of dementia. You're saying amyloid plaques or amyloid is good? Hmm. All right, let's read some more. 40% of people over age 80 are walking around with amyloid plaques in their brains, yet have not a whiff of cognitive impairment. I don't know if I should keep on reading. This is crazy. And this is absolutely crazy. Anyway, this is a good reading, page 133. She goes into a lot more detail. She talks about some of the drugs that are being used for dementia. So there are lots of pieces in the puzzle that's to be put together. But I always emphasize, got to start with preserving brain energy. It seems as if, and I remember I said this earlier, that decades before, there's a continual drop in brain energy before the first symptoms of dementia appear, usually around the age of 65 and above. And so our job, if we're going to maintain health, our brain health, if we're going to preserve our brains, is to find out what it takes to ensure that brain energy levels stay at 80 and above. Really, what else could possibly make more sense than that? So that's what we do in our course called Keeping Your Marbles. I guess there should be some information around this video, but it's all about helping you focus on the things that really matter when it comes to brain health. Again, you start with brain energy, the generation and the preserving of the brain's ability to generate energy to meet its high metabolic needs. And I'm going to stop here, and if any questions, please like, subscribe, or send us those questions or comments. Take care. Bye.